Hi guys. Well, this time, perhaps a quick video regarding the essential terms in penetration testing. So in this video, I'm going to show you several essential terms in penetration testing. So we start with the first one is the footprinting and reconnaissance. The footprinting is the technique used for gathering information about computer systems and the entities they belong to. Now, it looks like reconnaissance, but a bit different, where footprinting is normally conducted, uh, I would say, to find several informations on the internet rather than in a closed environment. Yeah. Reconnaissance itself is actually a set of processes and techniques which include footprinting, scanning, and enumeration used to covertly discover and collect information about the target. Now, the second one is the vulnerability assessment, yeah, which is the process of identifying, quantifying, and prioritizing, or even ranking, known as ranking vulnerabilities in the system. Then we have the exploit and exploitation. The exploit itself is a piece of software or a chunk of data or sequence of commands that take advantage of bug or vulnerability to cause unintended or unanticipated behavior to occur on computer software, hardware, or something electronic, usually computerized. While the exploitation itself is the process of gaining the access to a system or application by taking advantage of the exploit or exploit code. Now, let me show you an example of the reconnaissance. So I'm using Kali Linux. Yeah. And when you do the conduct or run the nmap, just like this one, to a specific target, you're actually doing the reconnaissance. Yeah. So you might want to get more information about the target by connecting to the target machines through the open ports. You can conduct the reconnaissance and footprinting at the same time, depending on the target. So you might want to see the what ports are running. What ports are open, what services are running, and what technology a particular what do you call this site is running. Yeah. So just like doing the nmap, doing the port scanning here, is the act of doing reconnaissance slash footprinting. Okay, remember that footprinting is normally through the what do you call this, the public network. Yeah, while reconnaissance can be anywhere. Yeah, from anywhere, right? And then the second one is the vulnerability assessment. So I am conducting a vulnerability assessment by utilizing Nessus Professional here. In fact, you can also use the nmap, just like this one, to perform a vulnerability assessment. Yeah, as you can see here, we got the state vulnerable to the CVE 2009 31031 Microsoft Advisory, right? It says about the SMB protocol implementation. So an error here, right? So you can also use the nmap for vulnerability scanning, and uh, most professional penetration tester will use something like Nessus here, the Nessus professional vulnerability scanner, where you can actually get something like this. Yeah, and you can even go through the vulnerabilities, and you can click the mix and find more vulnerabilities. Now, it shows several vulnerabilities. Several level of vulnerabilities like critical, high, medium, and low, and information. So you can try the exploitation of the critical vulnerability, yeah, such as maybe SMB. Here, SMB MS09050. Vulnerabilities in SMB2 could allow remote execution, right? So that's an example of the vulnerability assessment. Yeah. which normally involve in running vulnerability scanners to identify common vulnerabilities. Now, how about the exploit and exploitation? Okay. Now, for the exploit, I normally use the metasploit. Yeah. So here, oops, sorry, supposed to be this one. Yeah. So I can easily search for specific vulnerabilities like or specific vulnerability search SMB, and based on my previous information that I got from the vulnerability scanning or vulnerability assessment, I can try to use this one. Just an example, SMB2 negotiate function index. Here, use this one, quick demo. Now, we also talk about the payload. Yeah, here. Payload is a piece of code to be executed through said exploit. It is a custom code that attacker wants the system to execute and that is to be selected and delivered by the framework. So here, and here we can also select, let's say, a bind or reverse shell. Bind shell is a listener running on the target on the attacker. Connect to the listener in order to gain a remote shell, while reverse shell is it has the listener running on the attacker and the target connects to the attacker with a shell. So it's something like this. So I can specify, okay, I want to use the show payload, or just type I show payload. Can see a lot of different payload, but I will just select use or set payload windows, let's say reverse bind ops, let's say show payload. So you can select, yeah, let's say I will use the reverse TCP. So Windows shell. So set payload Windows shell reverse TCP. So this is the command to use the Windows reverse TCP payload. And you can set the, normally we need to set the local host that will wait for or that will listen to the connection. This is my Kali Linux, and you can set a port. Any port will do. Let's say 1334 337, and you can set the our host, which is the target machine, and you can just type exploit. Yeah, it says that machine is unreachable. Let me check. So sometimes the IP address in Kali, so this is my Kali. Yeah, sudo, that's my IP. Okay, now I can ping. I can just type exploit. It should be okay. So the payload was set to Windows reverse TCP. So which means that the attacker machine, as the attacker, I need to have my listener running on my machine, and the target machine will actually connect back to me. Yeah. So just an example. Yeah, we'll see if it is correctly uh, exploited. Yeah. Then yeah, so we can select whether you want to use the bind or reverse shell. Bind shell means that the listener has the listener running on the target, and the attacker will connect to the listener in order to gain the remote shell, while reverse shell has a listener running on the attacker and then target connect to the attacker with a shell. So the other way around, yeah, a reverse way. Yeah. Then we have privilege escalation, which is the act of exploiting a bug, design flow, or configuration oversight in the operating system or software application to gain elevated access to resources that are normally protected from the application or user. So sometimes we need to, you know, escalate our privilege, because when we attack, we do not get the higher level of privileges. Okay, so it might be, horizontal privilege, which is gaining access as another user, or uh, vertical privilege escalation, meaning that we need to get the root access or administrative access. And then we have password cracking. Yeah, so password cracking is something like this. We have this one. We have the access. Yeah. So from here, we can just type ps. Oh, sorry. We can just type netstat -aon. Yeah, and you can see that it's actually connected through port. Yeah, so this is actually coming from 205, which is my target, and connected to me. Okay. Then for the port, I mean the password cracking, we can use this Hydra to do online password cracking, attacking SMB, for example. And we got a password here. And then we can also use the encrypt, which is almost the same. Also the dictionary password for online cracking, yeah, or online attack. And then the other one is the terminology called arbitrary code execution, which is the attacker's ability to execute arbitrary command or code on the target machine or on the target process. An arbitrary code execution vulnerability is a security flow. It's a security flow in software or hardware allowing arbitrary code execution. Yeah, then remote code execution, also known as the RCE, is an example of the arbitrary code execution. Yeah, and the last one is about post exploitation. Yeah, this is actually not the last one, in fact. Is post exploitation refers to any action taken after successful of is open. Um, a session is open shell from successful exploit or brute force attack. Yeah. So once I got this target successfully acquired here, I can do post exploitation by looking at or running this kind of commands, or maybe grab something. Yeah, so that's an example of the exploit. Or maybe run, let's say, a, a password dumping or hash dumping, yeah, command or utility. Yeah. And then there's another one called pivoting or pivoting, refer to a method used by penetration tester that uses the compromised system to attack other system on the same network to avoid restrictions such as firewall configuration, which may prohibit direct access to all machines. So you might want to attack a weak host. Then from that particular weak host, you use that particular weak host to gain access. I mean, you when once you gain access to the target host or the weak host, then you use that host as your gateway to connect to other hosts, and then you can do lateral movement later on, which is actually the technique to progressively move from one network to another network. Of course, with the idea to get more assets and gain more information. Okay. All right. So uh, if you need this table, let me know. So I have compiled from Wikipedia and some other sources regarding the terms in penetration testing. So I've already shown you the several things about the what do you call this, and then also the remote code. I forgot to mention the exploit. Yeah, here the payload exploit. Yeah, yeah. So oh, sorry, I opened the wrong one. So this is an example of a remote root exploit where you can find the payload as well. Yeah. So this is the payload. So normally this is the payload. Yeah. A lot of payloads here. You have many different types of payload, and the this particular source code is known as the exploit code written in C language, right? So you can actually compile this and then run against your system. That is actually related to the exploit, exploitation, and also payload. All right, a very short video. I hope this would help you in understanding several terminologies. I mean, essential terminologies in penetration testing. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and see you next time in my next video. Bye bye.